Yo, just so you understand it, this is Coach Carvel Bailey's program with the spirit of Bob Hambry.
This is Blessed to Ball, helping athletes, and we represent. Study your craft, your mentality leads to excellence. It's all about your mindset. We'll never stop addressing this, so be positive and not a pessimist. Confidence took James Harden higher. If you really want it, it ain't gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard as carbon fiber, but we got you. From counseling to workshops, we do it. You'll go farther with a scholarship. We'll help you get recruited. Yo, anyone can dribble and shoot, but it's the ones who study basketball internally that make it to Duke University. Knowledge goes around. The game is played from the neck up and not from the shoulders down. This is Blessed to Ball, helping you with obstacles. The athletes are the rocket. Blessed to Ball is the rocket fuel. If you hit a wall, we can help you slowly climb it. So keep a Mamba mentality like Kobe Bryant.
Blessed to Ball.
Cherish the opportunities that you have.
Blessed to Ball.
Use your mentality to master the craft.
Blessed to Ball.
Come join our team, it's a new day. Follow our steps and watch how much better you play.
Blessed to Ball.
Cherish the opportunities that you have.
Blessed to Ball.
Use your mentality to master the craft.
Blessed to Ball.
Come join our team, it's a new day. Follow our steps and watch how much better you play. Yo, Coach Carvel Bailey. Hey, listen to your coach, man. He ain't no scrub off the street. That man got credentials, academic and street. Believe it, and my name is Strategic.
Welcome to another episode of Lunch and Learn. My name is Coach Carvel Bailey. I want to welcome you to the show, right? I want to welcome you to the show again, Lunch and Learn. And on today's episode, right? Today's episode, we're going to talk about what sets others apart, right? What sets athletes apart? What sets teams apart? What sets coaches apart, right? What sets them apart from everybody else? All right. And so first and foremost, again, let me know, right? Drop in the chat, wherever you're seeing, if it's on podcast, whatever, leave in the comments, what city and state are you learning from today, right? You're here because you want to learn. Again, I got my IG people over here. What's happening? I got my Facebook and I got my YouTube over here. What's cracking? What's happening? Let's get this education today, right? So at this time of the year, again, the season is about over, right? It's March time, but it's not over yet. But for those people that the season has ended, right? What sets, get a little light in here, right? What sets most people apart? And this started out today, right? I was speaking with some students of mine and I was talking to them about, right? We were talking about rap, just talking about music and talking about like, what's the difference? And, you know, you have MCs, then you have rappers, and then you have artists, right? You have performers. Well, it's the same thing in basketball, okay? There are a lot of perimeter players, not a lot of post players, but they're stretch fours, stretch fives at this point. You have a lot of basketball players, right? We used to say guards come a dime a dozen. In this game, guards come a dime a dozen. So what sets one person apart from everybody else? That's the thing, right? What sets one person apart from everybody else? And here's the thing that I'll say before I get into it, right? I got my notes, you know, it don't matter what I write them on. I just want to stay focused to give you this knowledge and this education. But we're talking about what sets people apart. The first thing that for my parents, I want for you to help your athletes understand this. And for my coaches, I want for you to help your athletes understand this. And more importantly, I want you to understand it as well. That the first thing that people must do is they must be the best them that they can be. A lot of times people are too busy attempting to be somebody else, and they're not being the best them that they can be. And then whatever you're strong at, whatever your athlete strength is, they have to be the best that than anybody else. So if they're a shooter, they have to be the best shooter than anybody else. If they're a best defender, they have to be the best defender than anybody else. Right? If you look at Patrick Beverly was a phenomenal scorer in high school, right? I'm here in Chicago land, Chicago, right? I used to coach against Patrick Beverly when I used to coach at Hyde Park Career Academy in Chicago. My cousin played with Pat, and Pat would put up 40 on any given night. Going into college, Pat was an offensive threat. Now, he always could play defense. He always loved playing defense. However, when he got to the league, defense is what set him apart. So he wasn't attempting to be a defender like Michael Jordan. He wasn't attempting to be a defender like Joe Dumars. He was attempting to be a defender like Patrick Beverly. He was attempting to be the best Patrick Beverly that he can be. And because he still can score, but he understood get in where you fit in, the defensive end, right? Where are the blind spots? Where can I make a living in this game? Let's lay on the defensive end. And so he learned that, and then he was the best defender that he could be. So the first thing I want to say to my coaches, and I want to say to my parents, you understand and get your athletes to understand that they have to be two things. They have to be the best them that they can be. Because even if they're trying to be the best Michael Jordan, they're really an imitation. So they're flogging or they're lying, capping, whatever you want to say, whatever the new word is. But they want to be the best them. You want to be the best you as you can be. And then they need to do what they do better than anybody else. As coaches, same way, do what you do better than anybody else. But those are the two things that people should hang their hats on first and foremost. But what I want to talk about today in understanding that, understanding those things that set you apart, being the best you that you can be and doing what you do better than anybody else, that comes down to intelligence. So how many people right here have heard of the terminology IQ, right? Just drop it in the chat, drop a 1 in the chat, drop an IQ in the chat. Like, let me know that you've heard of the term IQ, right? And IQ stands for intellectual quotient, right? You take IQ tests and you do all of those things. And even here, with Bless the Ball, with our Hoops Mastery program, right? We teach athletes the psychology of basketball to help them improve in their confidence and their IQ or their awareness, their recruiting, as well as their exposure. But IQ will set people apart. But there are also about 4 or 5 different intelligence that people don't pay attention to. And so I'm gonna break down 1, 2, 3, 4 for you all today. I'm gonna break down 4 different types of intelligence because everybody just think it's about IQ. And we know that the higher the IQ, probably the more confident the athlete will be or the coach will be, and they'll perform better. We understand that, or hopefully we do, right? But there's another type of intelligence, not just IQ. So there's a thing called social intelligence. And so now if you're taking notes, this is where you really want to, share this out, right? Share this with at least 4 or 5 coaches, 4 or 5 athletes that you know that want to improve, that want to get better, that need to improve, that need to get better. Now is when you share this out, get on the phone, tell somebody, hop on YouTube, hop on Facebook, hop on Instagram, right? Hop on Apple Podcasts, wherever they can pick it up. Now's when you tell them to pick it up. Or you take the notes and then you help give it to somebody else. But what sets athletes apart during this time? What sets teams apart during this time? What sets coaches apart during this time is intelligence. And so you have intelligence quotient, which is IQ, but now let's break this thing down a little bit more. Because it's not only intelligence IQ, right? It's not just the IQ, but you have social intelligence. And social intelligence is understanding yourself as well as others. I'm going to talk to my coaches for a minute. You're not in the basketball business. If anybody's never told you that, you're not in the recruiting business. You're not in the play calling business, right? You're not in the conditioning business. You're in the people business. If nobody's ever told you that before, you're in the people business. And so you have to have high social intelligence because one, you have to understand yourself, and then you have to be able to understand others around you. Because social intelligence, right, is really relationship building also. Those athletes that have no social intelligence, they're probably not a good fit for most teams because they don't fit in. Because they may not understand themselves or understand others, and they can't build relationships. They may be bad for a locker room. Some coaches, they jump from school to school, team to team, because they have no social intelligence. They don't really understand themselves or understand others. This is why we get sometimes a lot, no knock to the transfer portal. This is why we get a lot of bouncing around. And it starts young. It starts with the club and the AAU and everybody just bouncing around, because they have no social intelligence. They haven't built a relationship. They're going in it not to serve. They're going in it to be served. With social intelligence, you're going in, you're understanding you and you're understanding others, and you're going in to help, to serve that environment in which you're in. So what sets athletes apart, what sets coaches apart, what sets teams apart is one, they have social intelligence. The second thing, because we understand about IQ, right? If this is making sense to anybody, right? Just drop a 2 in the chat, right? We're number 2. If this is making sense to anybody, just drop a 2 in the chat as you follow along with me. The second type of intelligence, because we hear about intelligence quotient, IQ, but no one really talks about EQ, right? EQ is emotional quotient, right? And I got my notes, and so I'm looking at my notes, right? And so EQ is, right, is how you handle and manage emotions. There are a lot of athletes that can play. There are a lot of coaches that can draw good plays, that know the game, but emotionally they're a wreck. They drive players off. Athletes, they drive their teammates off. They're getting technical fouls, right? They're all caught up in their emotions. Now, emotions is a good thing. Kevin Garnett just got his jersey retired. He had great emotional intelligence. He was an emotional basketball player. But because of that emotional, he also has social intelligence, though. He understood himself and those around him, and that emotional intelligence couldn't overpower the social intelligence, because then he would run people off. Right? I hope that is making sense. Right? But they have to understand the emotional intelligence. And when they have the emotional intelligence, right, now they know how to handle their emotions, right? All of this, that don't mean tough. All of this, that don't mean tough, right? Showing emotion, that's great, and it's needed. But if they don't understand how to control those emotions, it'll put them right in the mix of the pot of others. Again, guards come a dime a dozen. But we're talking about today, what sets athletes apart? What sets coaches apart? What sets teams apart? And even people. Because all of these different entities are people. So we got social intelligence, we have emotional intelligence, and now the third thing is human intelligence. Now let me break down what human intelligence is, right? It's an intellectual capability of humans. Remember I said we're in the people business. When coaches look to recruit players, they're recruiting people. So my parents, listen in. I'm gonna come close a little bit. If a coach is just interested in your athlete as an athlete and not as a person, I want you to run as far away as possible as you can. Because when that athlete is not able to perform or gets hurt or doesn't become eligible or something happens, it's no human connection. Coaches should want to recruit people. right? Athletes should want to play for people, not just for a jersey name. This goes for AAU all the way to college. So human intelligence, we have to have some human intelligence. Let me go further, right? Human intelligence has a high cognition, right? Cognitive. They can think. They can think. And is one of my buddies, and he's on here now, right? William Pemberton, we call him Billy Blastgate. The thing that he used to always say was, who told you to think? Right? Sometimes you don't always need to think. Basketball players shouldn't be thinking on the court. They should be reacting. So in the words of Billy Blastgate, who told you to think? But people with human intelligence, they can think, right? Thinking happens a lot of times before it takes place. Does that make sense? Those with human intelligence have thought about things before it takes place. Now they can react. High cognition. And those people with human intelligence, what can they do? They can then motivate other individuals. They have a high sense, a high ability to be able to motivate others. And then, so we have social intelligence, emotional intelligence, human intelligence, and then this is one that I learned, right? See, coach of mine, right? Because again, parents, if your athlete's coach doesn't have a coach, find another coach, right? A lot of coaches don't want to hear this because they like, oh man, why are you telling parents that? There are a lot of coaches in the game today that they don't think that they should get coaching. They don't think that they should be learning. Well, how are you teaching if you're not learning? And so a coach of mine taught me, he said, to teach is to learn twice. To teach is to learn twice. So one thing that I learned, right? The thing that I learned, Letitia, you flowing with me. You understand what I'm saying, right? So the thing that I learned was decision intelligence. And this is a big one. Decision intelligence. So that's like, what are your best practices, right? People with decision intelligence, they understand, listen to me closely. They understand how actions lead to outcomes. Remember, we talked about being very emotional. That action will lead to a technical foul, right? Social intelligence, not understanding people, rub people the wrong way, turn people off, right? No human intelligence, right? Not thinking about things before they happen so then you could just react, right? People that have decision intelligence, they understand that, and I'm reading straight from what it is, how actions lead to outcomes. So they understand that if I do this, then this will happen. So what sets athletes apart is with that decision intelligence. Oh, it's nice outside. I'm in Chicagoland right now, right? It's sunny outside. Y'all see the sun shining. It was just snowing last Friday. Well, the worst time for athletes is the spring, is the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter of the school year is the worst time for athletes because basketball season is over. So now they start making bad decisions, but they don't understand that decision intelligence, and now I'm not going to go to class, right? They call up to the school, be like, hey, I got a temperature. What's the temperature? 85 and sunny. Excuse me for laughing, right? But hey, I got a temperature. What's the temperature? Hey, it's 85 and sunny today. I ain't going to class. But because of that decision intelligence, now they don't become eligible in the fall because they didn't make the right decision. Or they go and hang out in crowds that they don't need to be in. They're making the wrong decisions. And then that carries over to the basketball court. right? Like go back and check out on my YouTube channel. I did a lunch and learn on like understanding how to finish quarters, right? Basketball players not knowing necessarily how to play the game. They play the game, but they don't know how to play. That's because they make bad decisions on the court. It's a 3-on-1 and you pull up for a 3-pointer. Right? It's you're holding the ball for the end of the quarter or the end of the game for a last second shot, and now you start going at 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Don't give your team an opportunity to get the rebound and get a putback. They make poor decisions. So if you want to know how to help set your athlete apart from everybody else, again, one, they have to be the best them that they can be. Don't try to be a carbon copy. The second thing is they have to do what they do well better than anybody else. They have to do what they do well better than anybody else. But lastly, they have to have intelligence. And they have to understand the difference. It's not just IQ, right? See, in school, they always talk about IQ. But the problem that we're facing now in school is nobody is really paying attention to the emotional intelligence. Ain't nobody really paying attention, right? We're coming out of a pandemic. Nobody's really paying attention to the emotional needs of students or student athletes, right? They're throwing them right into tests or doing all the same things. They're not developing the person. So everybody is in that pool. Stretch fives, stretch fours, shooting guards, small forwards, point guards. They're all in one pool, trying to make it out one pool. That's why parents, right, is jumping from team to team, right? Coaches jump from team to team. It just goes back and forth. Nobody really is paying attention to the intelligence. And it's 4 different types of intelligence. It's many more, but the 4 that I'm talking about, they have to have social intelligence. They have to have emotional intelligence. They have to have human intelligence. And they have to have decision intelligence. Now, hey, don't listen to what I say. Go do your own research. Go research these different type of intelligence. And then come back and let me know if it works. And that's what we do at Hoops Mastery University, right? Again, we help athletes understand the psychology of this game we call basketball. We help athletes understand the psychology of this thing called basketball, which would then help them improve their confidence, their IQ, there go that word again, their exposure, and their recruitment. And guess what? If they don't understand the psychology of basketball and how that relates to life, then they'll probably be less confident when they get out here in the real world. They'll probably have less awareness when they get out here in the real world. They'll probably not be in the best position that they can be because they lack the exposure of what the IQ and the confidence can bring. I know a lot of coaches selling y'all on exposure right now, right? A lot of coaches, you hear it. You may be competing with other coaches talking about, hey, my team is going to get this exposure, get that exposure. I got a secret for you. Yeah, you can go in the gym with 100 coaches, but those 100 coaches are probably on course 3 and 4. And it's 18 courts in the building. But the coaches are on one main drag, but it's 18 courts, and they're selling you're going to get exposure. Well, exposure is not just somebody seeing your child. Exposure is also your child or you as a coach being introduced to something else. Exposure is somebody being, it's an introduction. Exposure, it's an introduction. It's not just coaches seeing and being introduced to your athlete. It's also your athlete being introduced to different things. Exposure. Go look up the word. Stop being sold on coaches saying exposure, meaning that my kid is going to get a scholarship. Stop it. And the last thing, recruitment. And recruitment again, right? When you go get a job, you're being recruited. You may send your resume. Now they're exposed to you, your qualifications, your experience. But then what has to happen? If they offer you the job, they're basically recruiting you to come work for them. So confidence, IQ/awareness, confidence, awareness, exposure, and recruitment, that's not just prevalent in basketball, that's prevalent in life. And if you aren't the best you as you can be, and if you don't do what you do better than everybody else, and if you don't understand intelligence and a different type of intelligence, it won't set you apart. Those that understand those things, that's what sets them apart. That's what sets me apart from other coaches. That's what have always set my teams apart from other teams. That's what's always set my clients apart, even now on Who's Master University, from other athletes, because they understand these things. So I hope that made sense. If you got some value from this, right, just drop a 3 in the chat, right? We did 1s, 2s, and 3s. We're on 3 now. If you got some value from this, drop a 3 in the chat, in the comments, wherever you may see this. And if you notice somebody else can benefit from this information, then I want you to drop a 4. If it was valuable, drop a 3. If you know somebody else can benefit, drop a 4. Now, don't be selfish. If you got it, share it with somebody else. And now, if you're in the Chicagoland area, right? So on April the 8th, we're hosting a coaching clinic, so that coaches can get these things and help have better value, but also make a greater impact. And then on April 9th, we're hosting a basketball boot camp, where not only we're going to work with the athletes, but we're going to have one of these sit-down powwows live and in person with you, the parent, where you get to sit down with your kid next to you, your athlete next to you, and y'all get to get these jewels. You get to get this work, and then you get to really sit and watch your athlete take part in a college-style boot camp. So for those that are in the Chicagoland area, or if you're somewhere close, get here, right? We got some people that's coming from Arkansas. We got some people that's coming from Louisville. Like, get here if you can get here, because this event will sell out. It will indeed sell out. But because we're giving this type of value, and why am I doing this? Why do we do Who's Mastery? Because I'm tired of parents like you being mistreated. I've seen it in my career as parents get wrong information. They get bad information. And their athlete, right? And they be like, my athlete could have been better, could have done better things, should have had more opportunities. And they feel used. I'm tired of parents getting used. But I also don't want to be that person that just sits on the couch and just criticize coaches either. See, I had and still currently have coaches. So I understand that where I'm not strong, I need to get assistance. And so throughout my career, my ego has went from here to here, because I understand I can't do it by myself. So what good am I to have information and not give it, not share it? See, the great coaches, they don't mind sharing information. They don't mind helping. They don't mind teaching. That's why I always say it's crowded at the right. Always strive for the top, because it's crowded as hell at the bottom. Remember, I talked about that pool. What sets them apart? Every coach don't get to coach in March. It's March right now. Every coach don't get to coach in March. Most finish in February. But those that are coaching in March, they probably have a coach. Those players that are playing in March, they're probably getting something different from the players that don't have that type of intelligence. So if you want to get access, right, to either of the events, right, either of the events you can go to my website, right? You can go to my website at carvelbailey.com, right? Carvel, especially for my people on IG, carvelbailey.com/clinic for the coaches clinic, right? Or carvelbailey.com/bootcamp for all my people in the boot that want to take part of the athletic boot camp, where we have the actual parent meeting there. So I'm gonna read a couple of these comments, right? Miss Gibson Reeves has been with me, right? My man Billy said it starts with parents, and yeah, basketball, you can't basketball baller, you can't mix the two. Yeah, you know, you can't, you know, and the streets of basketball, you know, you definitely can't mix the two. Basketball smart where sport where you make people start thinking outside basketball. You make people you trying to parent. Does that make sense, right? So what I believe Billy is saying, right, basketball is a sport, so you have to make people think on a defensive end, right? Can you make them think? And because they may not have any human intelligence, right? Does that make sense? They may not have any social intelligence. So now you make them think, and then their emotional intelligence, especially if they don't have it, it backfires. All right. Does that make sense? Letitia say 100% for sure. Right on IG. Andre Fletcher is with us. Eddie C. Right. Eddie C was my general manager, right? My general manager, great chef at this point, right? We got Lady CV, right? Her athlete, same way, right? Could shoot the leather off the ball. May not have had the opportunities that other people had or you know could have had, should have had. Great player, right? To become a good teacher is to become a good listener, right? Billy, right? We can end it there. To become a great teacher, you got to become a great listener, right? And so I thank you all for listening in, right? My man Chavez is with us. And so, yeah, you know, so for everybody that engaged today, I appreciate it. Again, share this with somebody else. I got to go, I got to run 33 minutes, much longer than I expected to be, but I hope that you got some value from this. All right. Again, if you can't make it here to Chicagoland, that's fine, because our Who's Master University is a virtual program, right? It's an online program. And so if you haven't had time or a chance to check out my free case study, then go check that out at www.betherightrecruit.com. BETHERECUIT, betherightrecruit.com. So go check that out at betherightrecruit.com and learn a little bit more. And with that, hey, I hope that you all got value from this. Share it. For those people, I also have a IG. I'm gonna drop a link in a minute, but I'm also having a bracket challenge, right? It's the tournament. I'm also having a bracket challenge where you can win some great prizes and downloads and things of that nature. So go check it out. All right, but I gotta go. Make sure that you share this with somebody that you know that can benefit, that want to set themselves apart, that hasn't done a good job of setting themselves apart as of yet. All right. Talk to y'all later. Peace.
Yo, just so you understand it, this is Coach Carvel Bailey's program with the spirit of Bob Hambry.
This is Blessed to Ball, helping athletes, and we represent. Study your craft, your mentality leads to excellence. It's all about your mindset. We'll never stop addressing this, so be positive and not a pessimist. Confidence took James Harden higher. If you really want it, it ain't gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard as carbon fiber, but we got you. From counseling to workshops, we do it. You'll go farther with a scholarship. We'll help you get recruited. Yo, anyone can dribble and shoot, but it's the ones who study basketball internally that make it to Duke University. knowledge goes around. The game is played from the neck up and not from the shoulders down. This is Bless the Ball, helping you with obstacles. The athletes are the rocket, bless the ball is the rocket fuel. If you hit a wall, we can help you slowly climb it. So keep a Mamba mentality like Kobe Bryant.
Bless the ball.
Cherish the opportunities that you have.
Bless the ball.
Use your mentality to master the craft.
Bless the ball.
Come join our team, it's a new day. Follow our steps and watch how much better you play.
Bless the ball.
Cherish the opportunities that you have.
Bless the ball.
Use your mentality to master the craft.
Bless the ball.
Come join our team, it's a new day. Follow our steps and watch how much better you play. Yo, Coach Carvel Bailey. Hey, listen to your coach, man. He ain't no scrub off the street. That man got credentials, academic and street. Believe it. And my name is strategic.